What happens when a fintech brain, a business mind, and family recipes collide? Yassin and Farrah turned that mix into Afia Foods, born in farmers markets, tested by mistakes, and tough enough to thrive through COVID. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Your journey began with a little black recipe book back from Syria, and now you are a national brand, internationally recognized, and doing incredible work in the food space. Can you tell me, maybe high level, what the points have been between then and now that have gotten you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure, Yassin. Shall we?
Yeah, I mean, give the intro.
I would love to just tell
the reasons
you.
Behind.
Yeah, tell you a little bit about that black recipe book. And so the recipes all come from that recipe book. But Afia's really stemmed from, pain, and it turned into purpose. And it was adversities I'd faced. And I think the journey for me and Afia really is, I was put in the right place at the right time. And when I first moved here, the adversities that I had to get over really was the loss of my youngest daughter, and my middle daughter was diagnosed with a life-changing kidney disease. My eldest daughter was separated from me, and we lost everything in the war in Syria. So when I moved to Austin, I started from the ground up, and I spent all my time volunteering with refugees. I really empathized with their pain and their struggle, and my mother-in-law also had hours to pack her life in a bag. She brought with her black recipe book, and it was that recipe book that really brought her comfort and took her back to a place of comfort that she called home. And so there was nothing in the frozen section. I would go to supermarkets and I couldn't find any Middle Eastern or Eastern Mediterranean food. And at that point I had, my mother-in-law's amazing recipes. I had an opportunity to really help support refugees and start from the ground up. So we decided to start Afia. We started out with $20,000, really small, in a commercial kitchen. And I really wanted to be able to kind of turn my pain into purpose. We grew to farmers markets, and it was really at the farmers markets, Yassin, that we, saw that there was actually this white space and opportunity, because we would sell out on a weekly basis. We'd take our kids with us at the time, taught them how to run the farmers markets, and they were absolutely amazing at it. They actually sold out far more faster and better than we ever did. But then that validation at the farmers markets really led us to going into retail. We had a goal and a vision from day one. And our first step towards that goal was going into HEB, they're local here. We were finalists in the HEB Quest for Texas competition, and we started out in 200 retail doors. We also made a very courageous decision from day one to actually stay in control and run our own self-manufacturing. I remember at the time, when we started Afia, our background actually isn't in CPG or food or manufacturing, so that was a completely new world for us. And manufacturing, we'd never even gone down that avenue either. So when we first started out, there was questions, this is a whole new world for you, CPG and food, and manufacturing's a whole new world. You're doing two very new things. But it was just something that we were adamant about, staying in control from a manufacturing standpoint, and treasuring my mother-in-law's recipes. And so we essentially run two businesses as it is today, which is our CPG, our brand and the products, and manufacturing. And both of them hand in hand. And owning our manufacturing has really, really helped us get us to where we are today. I would say a pivotal point for us for the manufacturing. And there's a lot of pain and a lot of work that goes into manufacturing, right? But a pivotal point for us where it really stood out to us that, that this is definitely the right decision for us was actually during COVID. There was a lot of the companies that were at the stage that we were at, which was very early on. COVID hit when we were 1 year into our business in retail. So a lot of the companies at that point in time and at that size that were getting co-packed, they struggled, and co-packers, didn't have the time for them or the labor to actually produce their product. But because we were self-manufacturing, we were in complete control. So we were actually at the time one of the very few brands that were, just at 100% fill rate during COVID. And it was at that point, to me, I was like, you know what? This is a lot of work and it's difficult, but it's worth it. At the end of the day, I'm in control, and I weathered the storm. It was a tough storm at the time, but the self-manufacturing has really helped us to get to where we are. The recipes and the ingredients that we use, we're in complete control of them. My mother-in-law, one of the main things that she stresses on is the recipes, they have to stay the same. And there's some slight adjustments that have to happen, of course, on the manufacturing side, but ingredient-wise, the best of the ingredients. And I really feel as if that has translated into our products today and into, the growth of the company and why people are resonating and really liking them is that depth of, we use great ingredients. It comes from authenticity and great recipes, and there's a heartbeat and a soul behind the company.
There's so much to dive into there.
I know. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's amazing.
I think I just skirted and just spoke about a lot of things in one answer, but yeah.
There we go. Now we know where to go from here. That's amazing. I love the authenticity piece, by the way. That's something that I came across that I was like, the uncompromised original recipes was so important to you. I want to start, though, with the pain to purpose idea. And obviously, I guess I'm curious, did it just so happen to be the food industry that was the outlet for this pain to purpose kind of like expression, if you will? Because could it have been anything else? And has that ever been a consideration?
I think me at the time, and I love this question, it was my mother-in-law's pain and her being able to feel comfort through food. And it was the food that actually took her to a place of comfort. And I think we can all agree that food is experience at the end of the day. You think of your greatest memories, you think of get-togethers, there's always food involved. And through food, you can tell stories. Through food, you can connect with one another. Food has no boundaries, it has no borders. Yassin actually has it on the back of his t-shirt, food is the fastest way to travel. And so food, I feel, it provides that comfort. And at the time, seeing my mother-in-law and the comfort that she went through, and seeing that white space in the market, seeing that nobody was doing Middle Eastern or Eastern Mediterranean food, there was all other cuisines within the freezer set. And Mediterranean was and still is the fastest growing cuisine in the States. It has been for 8 years straight. But there was just nothing there. So I would say there was that gap in the market. There was a demand for it, no supply. And there was a sense of food actually does provide comfort and helps with pain, because that's what she could bring back with her that resonated to back home. And for me, my pain was obviously, I was with refugees and I was helping them, and it was turning that into something impactful. So with the business and starting the business, our first ever employee was a refugee. Now at our manufacturing facility, we have over 70% of our employees are refugees. We've been able to give back and to the community over 500,000 falafel now. We've sponsored the refugees' university tuition. So my pain and turning it into purpose is through the food, through the quality, through my give back, through community, and through helping.
Did you know, right when you came across the idea, so you knew that you needed an outlet, but maybe you weren't sure what it was. As soon as you came across food, was it immediate? Was it immediate that you knew that was going to be it, and that would be the way you proceeded?
I would probably say it comes back to our background. Farrah's background is in business. She was a Forex trader. My background is in fintech, stock market trading, financial. So we always had this kind of business-minded approach toward things, and trying to combine all the kind of the observations that she did and the emotions that come with it around, hey, we have this amazing recipe book that's authentic, that's unique. desire to help refugees and be more impactful. But also at the end of the day, it's a very much a business decision about an opportunity and a white space that she noticed in the supermarket, where we see the demand in the food service side. I mean, the Zoe's Kitchen, now it's Kava's, and others are exploding, and restaurants are opening all over the place. So we saw the demand, but when we looked at the grocery stores, that didn't translate. And we weren't sure, was it because no one had that offering, no one tackled that market, or is something's missing? So our beginnings in the farmers market were really very strategic. We went there just to, set up a table and sell food there, here and there. It was more of we used it as a focus group to really validate our theory. And it very quickly proved to us that, yes, there is that demand, because customers' feedback immediately was, oh my God, I finally could see a healthy, clean ingredients. We love Mediterranean food. I can have it now in my freezer. So that was just clicking. And we kind of took that in and did quick feedback loops on refining the product, refining the messaging, the packaging, and so on. And very quickly, when we felt we were ready, that's when we applied to HEB as a retailer. Because, again, when you're in Texas, you have to hit home first, and HEB is in our backyard. So it was a natural progression for us. Although it wasn't natural now in hindsight for how other natural brands start. They usually go to the natural channels and expand regionally. We did that in an unorthodox way. We approached the market with a conventional channel. So in a way, it helped us because we were very business strategic about it, around the margins, the value for customer, the mass production. So we thought of all these different things very, very early on, even at the time where we weren't even sure if it was, an idea materializing or not yet. So that really helped us. And part of that decision was us doing a lot of market research. We had actually, even before we, put the first dollar into the business, we did a very thorough, almost a business case. We put a business plan. I mean, we didn't know the industry, so we tried to learn as much about CPG as we could. And that business plan, I mean, looking back, 6 years into it, it has so many flaws in it, but at least there was some thought process around critical things like, do I want to self-manufacture? What does that mean? What are the pros and cons there? It's a very critical decision for any founder when they do food. It's a pivotal decision point. Some take it later on in their stages versus early on. Coming from a business background, it actually helped us make it from a business decision and weigh in the pros and cons economically and what it means, because it's very capital intensive, it's operationally intensive. It's a different level of operational savviness that you need to have to be an operator of manufacturing, versus just focusing on the brand, accelerated growth, marketing, sales. So there's different avenues and ways to approach it. There's not a right way or wrong way. It's just we had to decide what was best for us. And we went with the decision that we need to do manufacturing.
How long between the amount of time where you came up with the idea from the recipe book to execution? Because obviously with both of you having business backgrounds, there's so much analysis, market analysis, product analysis, et cetera, that goes into it. From ideation to first product on the shelf, what was that time period?
I would say first product on the shelf, actual retail shelf, that was 2019. So that was HEB. And prior to that, it was probably a couple of years prior to that. A full year at farmers market, and then a full year before that, just really figuring this out and figuring whether this is kind of what we wanted to do. Bear in mind that both Yassin and I have 5 girls between us, and so taking a decision like this, meant that if we would start something like this, we had to really think through. Well, we still need to keep a roof over our head, right? We still need to provide for these kids. And at the time they were, ranging from 13 to 15. And so the decision that we took very early on was that, okay, we believe in this. We know that there's this, that our business plan is proving and showing us that there is this gap, but we can't rely. We know the business is going to take time to scale and to build up. And because we were self-manufacturing and because we obviously had responsibilities, we still needed that income coming in. So the decision that we made early on was Yassin would still stay in his job and he'd still provide and make sure that the roof was over our head, as I was out there, growing and scaling the business. He was very much so involved. Weekends, farmers markets, he was there. After work, obviously, he would still work on the brand, but from a day-to-day for the first few years, it was definitely, we had to build it that way. He had to stay in his job because, at the end of the day, it's capital intensive. It doesn't happen overnight. You need to be patient with it. And if you are going to rely on the business to kind of like keep this roof over your head and survive, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to, take the money that you're making at the farmer's market to fuel it back into the company and grow and scale. So that definitely really helped us in the first few years until we got onto shelf, until the company, started to grow and it was enough for Yassin to leave his job and jump on full time. But I definitely would say that is one thing that I would advise anybody starting, out in this field. If it's new to you, it's not going to happen overnight. So don't pack up and leave whatever job you've got. Make sure you've got some security whilst this grows.
Start working on weekends, get get used to the grind.
Or a partner where you share, you team up, you split responsibilities financially or operationally.
Yes, of course, yeah. Was there a moment where you realized, so obviously you did it very calculated, and even just one of you taking a risk to jump into something full-time is complicated, and especially with a full family to feed. What was the moment when you realized that, okay, it's time for both of us to kind of jump in?
The business was generating income, and we had decided that while I had a full-time job and sometimes I was just doing gigs and consulting, that all the money that the business brings in, we put it back into the business and grow it. That be in terms of sales, in terms of operational capital, in terms of acquiring assets, machinery, and so on. So for a number of years, my income was for us to live off of, while the business is refueling itself, because it was snowballing and you can fuel it with more money as you get more accounts and so on. But really, it was not until we did our first seed round with an investor that was the deciding point where I'm like, okay, we are at this level of revenue, we got in cash from an investor, now I can quit my job and we can actually allocate salaries to ourselves. Now, granted, the salaries were not anything fancy. It was nowhere to what I used to make, but it was what was needed to pay our most essential bills. That's what was allocated by us to ourselves as salaries. And we reappropriated the rest of the funds to really grow the business. But it kept us from, having to stay up at night and not knowing where to pay the electric bill or the mortgage from. So it was that very soft level of comfort, but it freed me up and allowed me to focus 100% with her on really accelerating the growth. Now we have responsibility to our investor who put in money. It's not free money either.
I'm curious about this idea. Obviously, the brand is so fueled by purpose. Your story that you share is incredible. But also the product is so good, and so there's this. I'm kind of working through this dichotomy in my head where it's like, so I imagine some people come in for the story. They hear about your story first, and they're like, okay, I have to try this. I have to support this brand, whatever the case may be. And I'm sure there's other people that just see it on the shelf for the first time, and they're intrigued by the product itself, know nothing about the story, and come in. On the back end, do you know much about the crossover? Do you get buy-in from one person buying it on the shelf and then learning about your story and becoming a lifelong customer? Or is it segregated? You know what I mean? Like people kind of buy for the purpose, obviously turn into customers for the product. Do you see what I'm saying?
I know, I get what you're saying. In short, the answer to that is when your product is in over, we've got our products, they're probably in about 20,000 points of distributions. Yeah. And then, it's getting consumed and eaten by, millions all over the country. You can only assume that not all these people know the story, right? And know the back end and know the heartbeat and the soul. But I think what draws them to finding more about Afia and finding out, who is this? What is this? is the greatness of the product. And so it's really important from a back end, and this goes into kind of like my mother-in-law and the importance of food and the recipe and ingredients is, I can't physically go out there and talk to all of these millions of people, but it's through the food and how intense it is and how delicious it is and the ingredients that they are going to, you know, come back to the website or come back and learn more. So it was important not only in the food, but in the way we presented ourselves in a brand, in our packaging. I'm not too sure if you've seen actually our meals packaging, but we started out with the falafel and the kibbeh. And they are, you know, sold in our pouches. And when we moved into our facility, we built a 21,000 square foot facility. We at that point had the capacity and the ability to be able to introduce some new SKUs and some new lines. So we introduced our meals line. And at the time when I was doing research, I was going to the freezer section and I was picking up all the meals there. And
I'll tell you, not picking up, she almost bought every single meal from every different brand that was on shelf.
Yeah.
Good research. You have to, right?
You have to. Yeah. And,
but there was a theme, so.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are good, some of them are great, some of them, you know, were lacking things, but across the board with all of them, I did not get an experience. And, you know, and that all fell down to, like, I just felt as if it's the black plastic trays, right? We have a saying in Arabic, العين بتاكل, which means you eat with your eyes. And so, you know.
The first impression.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, eating out of these black plastic trays, I wasn't feeling great about it. So, went back to the drawing board, sat down with the team, and I was like, listen, if we're going to go out with these single-serve meals, not only are we going to use the best of ingredients and these amazing recipes, but I want an experience with this. I want people to really resonate with it and feel as if they are being transported. And, you know, we were the only brand right now within frozen. If you see our bowls, they're not black plastic trays. They are Syrian tiled paper bowls, and when you eat out of them, you actually, you know, you have an experience. You delve deeper into what you're eating. I remember we were doing some consumer testing, and I took our recipes, the exact same recipe. I put it in a black tray, and then I put it in our current bowls, and there was nothing different about them other than the way that they were presented. And every single one of those consumers came back and said, this recipe, hands down, is so much better than this. But what was it? It was the experience. So even to the point of the packaging, we think it through to make sure that we are, you know, capturing our customers, and we're making sure that, you know, they are getting the experience, and that will lead to them coming back and learning more about the brand and seeing the soul and the heartbeat behind it.
I mean, one other point I would like to also stress on about the quality of the ingredients and the quality of the food itself is, at the end of the day, the consumers vote and speak out loud with their wallet. And all the marketing in the world, I mean, you can give me a check for 10 million, 20 million, $50 million to spend on marketing. I'll spend it. I'll do this big, you know, campaigns. And you can win a lot of customers, first-time trials. But if your product doesn't deliver in terms of its quality and the consumer's expectations, you will lose them. You can only fool people once. So it's really all about that return customer is what we really care, is our number one priority, because that's what really keeps us on shelf. That's what keeps consumers' loyalty back to us. And whenever we introduce another product, they'll be like, oh my God, no, I've tried this product from Afia. Now they have something new. I trust this brand. I want to pick the other product. So it's always the loyalty of the customer and the return and the happiness of the customer and meeting the expectations. That is our top priority. I mean, I can give you examples of so many of the brands that, you know, mainly the plant-based, meatless. I mean, they spend tens and tens of millions on marketing, but they flopped because they did not meet the basics of consumer need, which is healthy food, not some lab-made junk with huge marketing campaigns, because they only can go so far.
Yeah. No, I love the focus on experience. I think, like you said, you know, if you're to market, you can have the best marketing campaign in the world, but, you know, then you're limited to the 7 billion people to try it once, right?
and I think word of mouth is very, very important. It's when someone buys it, loves it, tells their friend, their sister, their brother, that's like a true testament to the product versus hearing it on an ad or on a web page.
Wow. When we're thinking about experience, I see that as basically, being a pillar, of your business. It's you probably make decisions around how can we create the best experience that we just discussed. I'm curious what other pillars might exist within your business that are uncompromised. You check decisions against it. If it's like, we're rolling out this new product or we're trying this new thing and we have to check it against X things, what are the questions that you're asking yourself?
I know, I think this what makes this duo dynamic here so great is because...
I'm really enjoying it so far, by the way. Yeah, looking at it different angles.
Yeah, because each one of us has a different set of checkboxes that come together to kind of like make that decision. But obviously the give back, it innately corresponds with the business growth, right? I hold that close to my heart is how impactful I can be, but I can only be as impactful as much as the business is successful. So they both go hand in hand. But I want to draw back to one. I want to call it a mistake that we made early on, but that taught us so much and is part of decision making now. And in short, it's one word and it's called timing. Early on, before we even, got into, or almost at the beginning of our retail journey, is we decided to, let's try out food service, selling our product in bigger packs. And it was just him and I at the time, and it took a lot of work, and it took a lot of hours out of our time, and it took a lot of the small amount of money that we did have, we were putting into trying to grow this food service channel. And about 6 months into it, we learned that, we're biting off far more than we can chew here. It's not the right time. We've spent some considerable amount of money on this. And at the time, it's a few thousand, but that's what we were building the business of. And we kind of stopped that avenue, but it took 6 months of our time and resources that we had between us. And after that, I think it's really important, just, mistakes are going to get made, right? You're not always going to make the right decision, but it's what you're going to do after that. And so after that mistake was made, we sat back down and we were like, hey, that was a rough 6 months. But what are we taking from this? What are we learning from it? And we learned from it that when we are assessing any one thing, so whether it's a piece of new machinery or expanding a line or going into a new product line or introducing a new SKU, we always think, is this the right time? Are we able to do it at this moment in time? Are we able to support it? Is the market ready for it? Are we ready for it? So I would say timing is one of the things that we always think about. We've got a plethora of products and that we can R&D. Some of them are in R&D and some of them aren't, but the ones that aren't yet is because it's not the right time for them. Whether it's from a financial or a manufacturing or even a market readiness. So timing definitely kind of came to one of the check boxes that we both agree on, but that derived from a mistake that we made very early on. And I actually love telling that story because it's seeing the glass half full, right? As founders, as entrepreneurs, we are going to make those mistakes. But if you're just going to beat yourself over those mistakes rather than learn the lessons from them and then implement them into your growth, then that is a way to overcome mistakes and really kind of just, as business owners, learn from them and grow.
Not only that, but to follow up on that also is early on, you're desperate for revenue and you get a lot of opportunities, and it's very, very hard to say no. Especially when you're hanging on to any one small win. And over time, we've also learned it's actually sometimes wise to just say no. And in the long term, you are better off and focusing on what really matters. To really stay focused, it's not just about checking the boxes as a product R&D, like the attributes of the product or the marketing and so on, but also is this the right customer for me today? When we went to HEB, which was our very first customer, we stayed 2 years with HEB. We didn't solicit any other customer because we felt we weren't ready and it was not the right time. And it's okay for us to say no. I mean, we got, out of curiosity, we did pitch to other retailers just to see what's out there. And we got yeses from retailers. But when it really came down to it, we're like, is this the right decision? And we had to apologize and walk away and tell those retailers, you know what? We applied, thank you for the opportunity, but we don't believe we're ready because it's not just about us getting on shelf, it's about what are we gonna do next? And how are we gonna continue the success story with you? So we would rather wait till the right time. And it took us 2 years to really learn and hone in our, I would say, CPG skills, because we really didn't know much about CPG world and even the lingo and the TPRs and the way you market and knowing who your customer is. Like when my product is on shelf, who's actually buying it? How do I communicate with that customer? What are they looking for? So it took us about 2 years to really learn and understand our product, understand our customer before we reached out to other customers. But it really goes back to the timing, to knowing when to say no to things.
Yeah, I would say alignment as well. So aligning with your mission, your core values, and so for us, it's the give back, it's community, it's ingredients, it's that passion, and decisions. How impactful are any one decision going to align with what we believe in? What is going to make a difference for us? And so adding all those layers on top of each other, you hope you make the right decision. But we're here today, so I would say we have made some good decisions definitely along the way.
And I would say, I mean, it's tempting because there are opportunities, there are trends, and sometimes you just want to jump on a wagon and ride the wave and do certain things. But at the end of the day, we really try to stick to our vision. Where do we see the brand? Whatever we do must align with the vision of the brand. And if it isn't, no matter how much money it makes you, it's a distraction. We're better off without. And that even goes to the product lines. Like there are certain things that do not fit what we believe as a strategic portfolio for the brand, in the long run. So we're not just gonna dilute the authenticity, because eventually the customer is not gonna trust you. If, today I'm a falafel company, it's plant-based, and tomorrow I'm doing burgers and I'm doing pizzas, there really has to be that who you are as an identity have to live through your journey as you grow your company and scale it.
Yeah, I think you're discussing this idea of kind of shiny object syndrome, which I feel like all entrepreneurs experience at some point, right? But I think it's really interesting because it typically takes a lot of experience to learn to say no. Especially, most people kind of come to this place where they've said yes so much that they can't sustain all these things that they've said yes to. So now that they have to say no, but it sounds like you knew that value up front, which is incredible. You were talking about mistakes and learning from them realistically, and I'm curious if you have a process of kind of documenting the mistakes that you've made, or rather the learnings that have come from them.
Well, let's talk on a manufacturing level. A lot was learned there, and so one thing that I have learned from the manufacturing side is. We are now SQF certified in our manufacturing facility, and so very, very heavy regulated. Everything falls back to documentation, right? So if you make a mistake or if there is a non-compliance on the ground, we document it and, we find the root cause of it. And so from that standpoint, yes, everything's documented. From, our early days, I would say, in all honesty, the mistakes we made early on, no, they're just that I probably in interviews like this, they're all documented. But those type of mistakes we haven't documented. We've learned from them, and we have formulated. Okay, well, when we make decisions, we have to go by X, Y, and Z based off of experiences and based off of the past. But I don't know, Yassin, do you have anything else to add on our early mistakes? Or I
wouldn't say we documented them, but we learned from them.
Yeah.
And we're still learning. We're new to the CPG world. Yeah, we've been there for 6 years, but we're at a certain level of our growth that I don't know what it would be like when we're at that next level. We can only try to envision, but we try now to rely more on not just me and her wearing all the hats and doing all the things. We try to now bring in on board some key team members that have some, key skill set or roles or experience in certain fields, and that we can trust and rely on their experience to do certain things rather than us figuring it out or documenting and learning. And like, there's a learning curve, and the more core team members you bring in with specialized skill set that fill in the gaps for us, the better off we are and the faster we can continue to grow with making less mistakes, because mistakes are going to happen.
You're bringing more experience into the room, right?
Yeah.
And you're delegating and trusting these people, and in lots of cases they probably know a little bit more than you do, or a little bit different in different areas, so that makes sense. And then you can keep the brand aligned with the vision.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, one of the probably other things on the sales marketing side I've learned is if you make a mistake at that kind of business level, you really have to assess very, very quickly or see the symptoms of like, okay, so let's say I hired a salesperson, for example, and internally I set certain criteria of what is considered a success. And if early on I'm not seeing the signs of progress, not even result, progress, because sales take cycles and time and so on, but if I'm seeing signs of the progress is not there, I tend to just either address it really quickly, give ultimatums, and not fire, but just take different directions and move on. Because you would lose so much valuable time in your early days if you're not sure you're making the right decision, or the decision you made is not going the way you want. The longer you wait, the negative impact is more impactful, or it has a more consequential results to you than cutting your losses quickly and moving on and pivoting. Not necessarily pivoting, but like correcting. So that's one of the things that we continue to learn, but we try to make business decisions quickly and make course corrections even faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing worse than knowing that something's wrong and letting it fester to something way bigger than it could have been if you just caught it up front, right? Or dealt with it up front, totally. I'd like to talk about your daughter's involvement in the brand. Was this, give me a high level on kind of what that looks like, but also realistically, like what it means to you to have your daughters involved in the brand. And was that the plan, or did it kind of come about organically?
Let's go back to the beginnings. Farmers markets, they were young. So the girls have seen this brand or Afia start from, the beginnings, right from the early days, and they lived through those early days with us. When we're in the commercial kitchen, we'd take them with us, and they were there, and they would kind of like stir up and help us. And at the farmers market, they were very much so involved. At the time, he was in his job. Obviously, I was busy. It was more time with my kids. So they would spend, we had to do this right over the weekends, but I still wanted to be with my kids. So for me, okay, the kids are coming with us, we're going to teach them. It was also great for their skill set, right? When at such a young age, you can put them out there and they start to communicate and speak to people. It was also a valuable lesson for them as to the value of hard work and money, and how to come about it and how to deal with it. It doesn't just, grow on trees. It's you have to earn money. And so having the girls involved very early on taught them a lot of skills that I believe if they weren't involved in the business, they would have either struggled when they go into the business world, or they wouldn't have learned at all. I would love the girls all of them to be involved in the business. The early year experiences had different effects on each one of the girls. Two of them actually were like, loved every moment with you, loved everything, but I'm not going to be an entrepreneur, not going to start a business. I'm going down the medical route. So they went down that route. One of them is actually with us now, Lana. She's actually working in the facility. She works on both the operational and the marketing side, and she absolutely loves it. We give her 10 million different hats to wear, and she's learning new things every single day. One of them is studying business. She, from afar, has her eye on coming back, but she wants to kind of like just go out there and experience and see what it's like outside of Afia. And then the fifth one is studying psychology. So I don't know whether, we're going to bring Mariam back in any one way or another, but the girls are they're so supportive, which is great. They definitely are part of, hey, we're doing a new product and we're using Tita, my mother-in-law, Tita's recipes. Hey, let's try this out and taste and stuff. So from afar, they're loving it, but right now, I've got one that's very much so involved. Yeah.
I like that self-identified in or out kind of, I was at the farmers markets and Mom, I don't ever want to touch this again. Yeah. Extrapolating that kind of conversation, curious as to, the dynamic between the two of you and working with family in general. You always hear, success stories, horror stories, everything in between. What is that dynamic, and maybe to chat about the boundaries, if there are any, to ensure that your business and personal life are successful?
Yeah.
I mean, it also stems from our background. We both have business background, so we do see eye to eye on certain strategic things and how. So all strategic decisions are a conversation. There's no right and wrong. There's always a lot of pros and cons. We lay them out, and we together come to the best decision with the information we have. And if we don't have enough information, we agree that we need to reconvene and collect more data and come back. And so we're more methodical about how we approach it. But from a day-to-day operations, we're still a small business. We wear multiple hats, but we thrive off of our strengths. Like, she has certain strengths I don't have, and I have certain strengths that she doesn't have. So we naturally came to a point where the hats were split in a natural way. She's very good at the R&D side, the marketing side, the PR, operations, food safety. I tend to do more of the finances, the sales, some of the speaking to the investors on the back end. So there's that kind of natural separation. I do a lot of the administrative, the HR. So it's not like we sat down and we decided what those are. We kind of put them out there between us, and naturally it just became a natural split of like, I run with this and you run with that.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think, working as a couple, I kicked my ego out of the door the moment I started Afia. There is no ego in this. And I would say that I'm typically, just by nature, I'm the type of person where if I don't know something, I'm not going to kind of like pretend I do. I'm going to, say, okay, well, I mean, you obviously have more experience in this. I'm going to lean on your judgment call on this, or I'm going to lean on your experience. And I think that goes for us working together. But I think just in general, with the growth of Afia and obviously expanding our team and everything, that has really helped me, be able to, I want to say I'm going to call Afia my baby number 6, all right, okay? And so being able to let go of parts of my baby, because you have to as you grow and as you scale, right? You can't continue to be in control of absolutely everything and wear every single hat and do everything in every single facet of your company. So being able to kind of just let go, and of course I oversee a lot of my key peoples and their departments, but let go and trust the people that you've given this responsibility to. And that is because I trust in other people's experience, and I trust in other people's navigation of what they are great at, and
their loyalty to the company too. I mean, to me, that's above all, that they have the best interest of the company when they're running that department and they're doing the best decisions.
So I think as couples, if there is ego in the middle, there's always going to be a problem, because you're not really looking out for the business's best interest. But once you're both on the same page, and it's not like, I'm right, you're right, it's me, it's not you, then that helps so much more. I would also say business and personal life. It was that was difficult to navigate at the beginning. In all honesty, we've had to learn how to draw those boundaries because naturally, innately, we from work to the facility, it's like a 40-minute drive for us. So we got to a point now whereby on our drive back, because although our offices are like back to back, right? So I can hear him through the wall in his meetings, me and him, but we actually don't see each other that often throughout the day. So sometimes, the end of the day, the car ride home is the first time I see him. I'm like, hey,
how was your day?
What did you do today? And we use that 40 minutes to kind of like recap, debrief, go through anything that, if we have to talk about anything, so that when we get home, we've got that time to just spend it with one another, but not talk about business. And getting to that point was challenging because we live, breathe, and eat this company. It's our baby. And when the lines were, we didn't draw those lines, it just became like a 24/7. That's all we would talk about, all we would think about. And it got to a point where we had to draw that line. I think it's important. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. It didn't for us anyway. But if you're conscious of it, then definitely it will come to fruition. But you have to work on it because it took some work to get there from both of us.
I mean, one other thing I would add is I don't know how solo founders do it, because I really appreciate having a co-founder on so many levels. There are periods in time where I'm burned out or she's burned out, and we kind of carry the banner for that period of time. You cannot expect anyone else to do it when, there are certain things that only us can still carry that weight of where things are, what's happening. And having a co-founder is I wouldn't trade that for the world. I wouldn't want to do this by myself. And I don't know how solo founders do it or cope on their own.
The things that he does, when I see his spreadsheets and his numbers and his stuff, and we're setting up some new systems at the facility, like some new ERP systems and whatnot. And so when there's the whole training about all of the accounts and everything, and it's like foreign to me. I'm like, however much I try, it just doesn't click. And he's just fantastic at it. So I don't know how I would do any of the stuff that he does, and vice versa. Food safety, facility, manufacturing, all the operations. A lot of the times I'll be talking and saying some stuff, and he'll be like, you know what? Yeah, you just that's your thing.
Complementing skill sets, right? It's so interesting because sometimes you hear, two co-founders talking about whether it be couple or not couple, and they're talking about how they're like yin and yang to each other kind of idea, right? And then you talk about solopreneurs, and they're like, I don't know how you do it with somebody. So it's just a testament to how unique everything is, right? Yeah. Funny enough, sidebar, but an earlier founder this morning also was partners with his co-founder, and he said the way that they countered it was they took separate cars to work. So complete opposite. It's hilarious. Yeah.
That's funny.
Circling back on the ego check idea here, I think that's really interesting. And it goes beyond the two of you, obviously, as co-founders, but also you need to translate that to your staff and the people that work with you and for you and that sort of thing. How do you build a culture that aligns with your mission and realistically attract the right people? And I know there's probably a silver lining here with the 70% refugee comment from earlier, but talk to me about that.
For me, it's really important that everybody in the company feels as if they are part of something greater than what they are doing from day to day. And that culture really has to stem from leadership. It's one piece of advice I would give is anything you want within the company, any culture, any feeling, any type of emotion, you have to live it, you have to breathe it, you have to make sure that the people that you're bringing on, the team members that you are bringing on, I can bring on somebody with a plethora of skill sets, but if they don't have the passion and they don't have that alignment and the values that you have to be able to feed that through to their team, then they are not the right person for you. So for me, everybody from all the people on the line, from my key people, and we're still small. We're like 30 people within Afia, but then we work with a lot of other brokers and sales teams. But everybody is seen. Everybody is heard. I know everybody's name. I know everybody's, family status. I have an open door policy. Yes, I've got a lot to do. And yes, I've got a structure in place whereby, if something were to happen on the ground, they've got somebody to go to. But my door is always open, and making sure that they feel as if they are part of a family, they are seen, they are cared for, they're not just a number, is trickled down to everybody in the facility. I want to give you a little story, actually. It made my day yesterday. So we're implementing kind of like new operational system at the facility, and we're working with a company. And so we've been working with them now for a couple of months. And so they've sent somebody out to our facility to spend the whole week there to kind of make sure that the operational implementation that we're doing is set up right and working effectively. And so he left yesterday, he's back in a couple of weeks. But the one thing he said to me when he left, he was like, I've been into thousands of facilities, and I very rarely come across a facility like this, whereby the care that you have for this company and the products is felt amongst every single person here. So he said, so from a culture perspective, whatever you are doing, you're doing it right, because everybody at your facility cares just as much as you do. And that is so important, because I can't be hands-on on that line, making sure everything is perfect. Of course, I've got people in place, but if I know that my team cares, they are going to make sure that everything is going seamlessly. So it's really important to have that, and that comes from us.
I can't imagine any better feedback than that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it made my day yesterday. I actually almost brought a tear to my eye, because you know you're doing it. You know that this is something that's really important to you. But when somebody from the outside comes in and sees it and feels it, he actually said, like, I feel cared for. I feel, really part of something special here. Well, that's what I want. That's because that is going to resonate into my product. It's going to resonate into the food, and it's going to resonate into the wider community. I think community as well is just, it's important. It's about building those relationships and building them so deep, whereby even the relationships that you build and the partners that you have care about you and the brand and the product.
And everybody around a brand can feel the care that goes into something, right? I think that's apparent. And we were talking about experience before, but it's the same kind of idea. I guess does it come naturally to you to build this culture? Was it because I think when I think back to conversations that I've had with plenty of other founders, culture seems to be one of the harder parts for people to build, right? Their product first, their mission first, whatever the case may be. Funny enough, I'm answering my own question, but mission typically comes with culture. But maybe talk to that a little bit. Like, did it come naturally?
For me personally, yes. I think by nature I am a very empathetic person. I care for people. I have strong roots, obviously, and my belief and my goal in this company and where I want to take it. I believe in it to the core root of me. But along the way, I know that the people around me are really, and my community is really what got me to where I am today. So I as a person, am a very caring person. I'm a very empathetic person. I will look at, the glass half full, and I give people chances and opportunities. And I think that resonates. It was natural for me. And Yassin as well, I would say the same. But he's I think there's always a, I don't want to say, yeah, there's a balance.
I have to put, I'll phrase it in a different way. I have to wear the CFO hat. So I take it upon myself to always be the one that says no to a lot of people, because I have to take it from a financially responsible place, because ultimately I care about everybody, but I have to make the business work for everybody, because we don't take it lightly that we hire people or we have to let go of people, because we're putting food on their table. And these guys are coming here and they entrusting us with their livelihood. So we take that decision very, very carefully, with the right fit of the culture, the people, and the productivity. And so there's a lot of metrics that we have to go off of. But ultimately, I mean, it all goes back to the empathy and caring about them. But I look at it from a financial responsibility standpoint. So There's
That's
side
that
of it.
duo dynamic that I'm
Yeah.
talking
Exactly.
about, right?
I try to balance her, where we try to do the best. We try to offer them a health plan. We try to give, an employee of the month. We give them a stipends for, snacks vending machines. We do 10 vacation days a year. I mean, we try to do a lot of things to make sure that these people are taken care of financially and a benefit standpoint and being part of this company, because we know that also will translate to their commitment and their loyalty to us as well. I just have to do it in a financially responsible way.
I totally get it. Well, and funny enough, I'm thinking back to something we were talking about earlier, which is that the more successful the business itself is, the more you can impact millions of people, right? Rather than, and I'm not diminishing the 30 people that are in your space, but you have to be able to say those no's to be able to impact the greater picture, right? Which brings me to the long-lasting impact and the change that you are already facilitating and continue to facilitate into the future. What does the impact look like today, and how is that going to change, as Afia grows?
Well, I can go back, on outside of kind of like the bringing, the employees within my business. Initially I was only able to, donate and give back to the community a smaller amount of product. Now I'm able to do larger. Now I'm able to sponsor a refugees' university tuition. So I, as we grow and as we scale, I see that and helping community on a bigger level outside of the people that's within the company. I see that definitely growing. I also see, through the growth of the brand and through the spread of the products, and I see people I hope to see people coming back and looking into Afia and looking into, what type of a brand is it? Where are these people from? We're originally from Syria. There's an education component there. This is a Syrian company. Some people know Syrian, some people don't. And so learning a bit more about our culture, about our type of food, the fact that, we do support refugees, is whether we like it or we don't. I don't want to go into anything, political here, but there is a stigma that comes with that. And so, having a platform to talk and say that, these refugees, they've gone through a lot, right? They've left a home and a country that they love for whatever reason, and every refugee has the same plight and the same reason. But it's bringing light to these people are hardworking. They're here and they want to build a family and they want to start and they want to grow their own community and give back. And it's hopefully having a positive impact on that and the view and how they are seen. They're here to work like everybody. They're hard. They really are amongst the hardest of working people I know. So it's having that platform to be able to just, talk to that and talk to our culture, talk to our food, the flavors that we have and what we experience through food and how impactful it is.
I mean, another aspect of the impact would probably, from my perspective, is that we are a US manufacturer today. I know it's a big, word in the media and in politics today, but also we are local to Texas. So one of our top priorities when we look at vendors is we always try to go local. It helps building a community-based approach, and it's almost a pay it forward from our perspective to how HEB looked at us when we were just in the beginnings, where they created a program for local, suppliers to HEB, and then they held our hand when we were we didn't know what even CPG was, and they put us on their shelf. So in a way, we try to pay it forward by, if all equal, I would always pick a local vendor for my own or supplier to my own processes. And we do want to produce in the US because I truly believe that the regulations for food safety, for food quality, for where things are sourced from, how we are even producing internally plays a big difference. For all the years before we started the food business, I would go to the supermarket. I didn't have the same appreciation for certain regulations and certain rules, whether it's the USDA or FDA. But now that we're living it and we're doing it, I'm like, I know why this is all in place. I trust certain foods that I'm buying from certain companies, and also some of the things that happen in the market where people claim things that there are not, and what is truly, so we have a lot more appreciation for what is made in the US versus things that are imported. And I know there are regulations for import as well, but there are preferences, and those preferences now are in a way having our company is impactful in a way to whether it's our suppliers or partners that we work with.
Yeah. Definitely. Support local is integral. And I think, I mean, we kind of branched over the COVID fiasco very quickly, but I think that is part of the COVID idea too, or at least reinforced this idea that local matters. Do you think consumers are moving in the direction of supporting local more as time goes on?
Yes, but I would probably say there's a bigger trend toward healthier food. A lot more consumers or people are looking at the back of the bag and seeing what ingredients, the different attributes. There is a lot more food and nutritional health awareness, and that plays in our favor because we are really offering that as well.
I would also say that there's been, I don't want to say a shift, maybe an awakening. I think consumers are they are looking at brands with a meaning, right? These big, huge brands and corporations, they are losing market share to the smaller brands that actually are making a difference, that have a heartbeat and a soul behind them. And I think that shift is very apparent. I think consumers are looking for, okay, well, if I am going to buy a falafel or I am going to buy a single serve meal and there's 10 on the shelf and they all, theoretically, let's say, they all taste great, where are my dollars going to go? Where is it going to be most impactful or better serving to the broader community? So I definitely think that is a shift in mindset and consumer buying that started to happen a few years ago, but it's just becoming more and more prevalent.
Any plans to export to Canada?
Well,
Hopefully.
I never say never, but it's all about timing, right? Let's bring timing back into it.
I would love to. It would be a great market for us. There's a lot of awareness of Middle Eastern food. I'm not sure how much of availability there is, but again, it goes back, like she said, the timing.
I think,
and the uncertainty today about cross-border trade is a big factor into maybe we or have to wait a couple more years to just see where things are going to land. But ideally, yes, I would love to.
Yeah, I think we still got quite some work to do here in the States, right? We got a lot of grounds that we still would like to cover and need to cover here, but I won't say no to it. Let's say that.
Love it. Where can we send people to follow along what's next for Afia? What's next for either of you?
Social media. So Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, definitely reach out to us on our website as well.
We do have some presence on Amazon, but it's more of a commercial presence. But in terms of like story and following us, it's usually the social media.
That's if you don't bump into me in a freezer aisle somewhere as well.
Is that pretty common?
I mean, I've when I'm definitely wearing the Afia t-shirt, I've definitely been, oh my gosh, I love your falafel. So yeah, whenever I'm in any supermarket or I'm shopping, even if it's not on my list, the first place I go is the freezer aisle. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation. This has been such an enjoyable time, and I'm grateful for all of the insights and the story behind it.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.